Hi, welcome to another Living Life Ministry video. Today we're going to be talking about people who we admire and look up to. Now, a more common word used is hero, and I will use that through this video, but I want you to be cautious when you hear me say it, because I don't mean superheroes. Though they can, relate and be used in the context that I'm using, it's not the only definition I'm using. It's not only using superheroes, but when I talk about heroes, I'm talking about more the everyday person. The person who in our lives, if they disappeared, life wouldn't be as good as it is. Or people from the past who, if they were never there, never existed, today's present wouldn't be as pleasant of a place. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about heroes and how we develop heroes through the different stages in life. And then how, in understanding this, we can better ourselves and better the world around us. So let's begin by talking about when we're kids. Now, when we're kids, the idea of the hero really gets drilled into our heads. And this happens from all sources of childhood experiences, whether it be school, home, or even the television and games we play. I think this is because we really want to shape children in a proper way. And I remember it being in kindergarten myself and grade 1 and 2, and we used to have to do these presentations on people we looked up to. And as we got older, through the older grades, we had to do book reports and presentations on, great heroes of the past and people who did great things. And we really kind of push this idea in the head. And it's interesting, no matter what kind of book report or presentation I was doing, I noticed one thing as a child, that most kids always related it back to their parents and parental figures. Whether they were talking about a superhero comic or a figure from the past who did great things for the country, they always related it back to their parents and said how much that hero reminded them of their parents. And that's the first step we're going to talk about, is kind of the parental hero of children. When we're kids, we don't really know too much outside of our parents and our home life. We know school and a few friends and a teacher, but the parental figures, and a teacher can be included, are our main source of icons. They are the people who have understanding, knowledge. They understand the world around you that's new to you. They are always right. You do something wrong and they correct you, they punish you, and they're the keepers of that kind of knowledge of right and wrong. They offer you security. They offer you food. They're the owners of the water, the food, the house. It is theirs. And you develop a desire to be like them, and it's probably because they have those things. They have the knowledge, they have the understanding, they have the food, they have the water, they have the shelter, and those are our basic necessities to survive. And thus you want to be like them so you will survive as well. It's a very basic kind of instinctual thing. And because of this instinctual thing, we develop a hero relationship for our parental figures. It doesn't have to be your mom and dad. It could be like a grandparent, an uncle, and like I said, a teacher, or even any adult who really has a significant impact on your life. But as we grow and we kind of move into the next stage of icon, we start to leave the parental figure behind, because once we've come to the understanding that we have, a home, food, all those basic necessities, our personalities can grow and develop, and our interests can form and change. Now, the interests for a person can be really influenced by the parental figures, the parental heroes. Now, let's say your father's your hero, and he is really into football, and he watches it every day, catches all the games, watches the highlights, knows every player's stats, and let's say he really likes this one player, and he talks about him all the time, and you hear it as a child. Now, when you grow up, and develop as a young adult, that influence of your hero will often transmit to you. So you'll become a big fan of football, and you'll, remember that one player that was so great in your dad's eyes, and you'll look for, players in your generation that have the similar style of playing or whatnot. Or even in just more basic, your dad really liked the game, so you really like the game. But often it can go the other way. Sometimes kids do the exact opposite of what their parents were. And so maybe instead of loving football, you'll hate football. But that influence is still there. But anyways, coming into that development of a young adult, you start developing that personality, your interests and whatnot. And what happens is those heroes of your security, of your parental figures, kind of take a step back, and these new figures come forward because you have developed a personality, and you see people who have succeeded in similar areas of your interest and personality. So let's say you really like rock music and you want to be a rock star, and you see the rock stars on TV, on the music videos, you go to their concert, and you want to be like them. You want to resemble them, act like they do, because they've achieved something that you are interested in and that you admire. And so they become the heroes in front of the parents a lot of times. So now you have these two levels of heroes. You have your security, basic understanding of the world, food, water, basic necessity, and then you have this next layer of hero, which is kind of that this is who I am, I'm developing who I am, and these people are an example of who I want to be, who I could be. But something happens when you're a teenager and a young adult that will shatter these two layers of heroes for a lot of people. The parental figures kind of get shattered a little bit, because when you're a teenager, you want to rebel, you want to start doing adult things, you feel like you're old, you feel like you understand the world, you've reached the level of your parents. But a lot of times parents will understand that, you're not quite mature enough, you're not ready, they're not ready for you to, do certain things, and friction happens. And this is when children realize that their parents are not perfect beings. They realize that they're flawed and human, and that hero pedestal kind of gets crumbled a little bit. And then the same thing happens for the celebrity and sports icons, and even great scientists of the past. If you're really into science, or philosophers or whatnot, you start researching these people, or getting more in depth with who these people are, and you realize with great fame or great intelligence comes a lot of restraints and chains. A lot of the rock stars that make great music and have influenced the musical generations for years to come, a lot of them have drug issues. They have abuse problems, or whatever the case may be. Their lives have been stained with sin and negative action, and people come to terms with this, and they're like, okay, well, my parents are no longer perfect. My icons from like the media sphere of life are obviously not perfect, and that they're wrong. Their glory, their fame, their money came with a cost. So it kind of leaves us as young adults in this place where we don't have that fully covered hero icon in our heads, and that kind of brings us into the next stage of hero development, which is spiritual development and heroes in the spiritual realm. And in a lot of cases, this could be people from the past who've done great things. A good example is kind of like Mother Teresa or Gandhi, people who have stood up against repression and bad scenarios, or helped the poor, or whatever the case may be, and they've done great things with their life. It's so great that people try to copy. And though in our everyday lives, there's probably not going to be an opportunity for us to reach that level, if we can even just mimic these people in the slightest, that it's going to propel us into better people, that we are going to become kind of like a mimic of their essence, a shadow, following suit. And so that becomes kind of like the next stage, and it can go even higher than that. And when I say higher than that, I don't say, it's more like the hierarchy of heroes, and what I'm referring to is God. People will pull in a faith of God and community and the church life through different religions to bring in a new hero, bring in a new icon, someone to look up to. And God is almost like the perfect icon to have, because especially, and I'm going to bring this from a Christian point of view, God is the all good, is the all powerful, is the all knowing, it's the unmovable force. And it finally kind of fulfills those pockets where the heroes that when you're a child and a teenager kind of got crumbled away because you see the error in the humanity, but God doesn't have the error, and it's a really good thing. It's a really good thing to have. And so that's kind of like the stages of development that you have for heroes. You have the parental figures, you have the people who share interests, share future goals, and then you have God. And God kind of blankets the entire thing for people and gives them an icon to look up to that will never fall, will never fail, and will always be there to help you. So take a moment just to kind of think about that. You have these three very, very unique stages. Two that kind of fail, and then you have a final stage where if you can find a good path like Christianity and find a relationship with God, and you will gain a hero that will always be there. Now, how can you take what we talked about and help your life? Well, when we're kids and we have the parental figures, or when we're teens and young adults, we have those media figures. We often see in cases where the hero falls and fails, and it hurts people severely. And what makes a good hero in the human realm is when the hero fails, he doesn't try to hide it. She doesn't try to sweep it under the rug or deny it. What makes a hero a real hero is that it will make mistakes, ask for forgiveness, and do what it can to rectify the situation. Now, when I think back to my parents did this a lot of the time. That's why I think, a lot of cases I still see them as heroes, is because, no matter what their trials they had in life when they were younger, no matter what odds were against them, they never let their frustration, they never let their hate, they never let their anger come against me and my siblings. It was their way, their self-control, their repentance, their duties, their proper behavior that helped them maintain that hero status. And though when I grew up, I realized they weren't perfect, I didn't lose that imagery of the hero. And one of my heroes for one of my teenage stages was Bob Barker. He was the host of The Price is Right. And the reason I idolized him was because I was a young vegetarian, a young animal rights activist, and he did work for years in regards to, helping pets and animal rights and a bunch of different things. And though as I got older, I realized he wasn't a perfect being. He never really gave up his efforts to help those animals. So he was able to keep a hero status for himself in my eyes too. So what I want to give to you is think about your heroes in all those stages. Who are your heroes when you were a kid? Who are your heroes when you're a young adult and developing? And who are your heroes now that you're older and you're kind of to terms with your spirituality and what you believe to exist? And take that and look at yourself. Can you measure up to what those people were? And can you do better? Let's say your parents let you down when you were a kid. You idolized them greatly, and then you saw them, they were erred, and they made a mistake, and they never forgave themselves, and they never forgave you, and it kind of shattered things. Now, if you want to be a hero, if you want to be someone to look up to, you got to live that life. And like I said, if you make a mistake, that final level, that God, that relationship with Christ, gives you that power to ask for redemption and make it better and maintain what it means to be a hero. And that doesn't mean you have to be a superhero. It doesn't mean you have to go out and save the day every time. But what that means is that you put in that effort every day to make a proper statement, a proper action, a proper movement in life, so that when people see you, they see someone to look up to, someone to mimic, and it's kind of like the ripples in the water. We'll start and it will keep spreading outwards. And when you look to other people, look at them and say, what are they doing right? Why are they a hero? What could they do better? And in doing so, you're going to better your life, you're going to better theirs, and it's going to keep going. So I'm going to finish off by saying that, being a hero and looking up to heroes is critical for the development in our lifestyle. And you can see it right here. It changes from when you're a child all the way up to an adult. But, the greatest hero to me is Christ. And not only was he the Redeemer in the world, he was also a great example. Christ gave us many examples on how to be a wonderful person, how to be a good person, how to be a holy person, and a very spiritual and loving person. And God gives us the gifts of faith, hope, and love. And those are probably the best things you can use to be an icon, to be a hero in this world today. So take care, God bless, and never stop looking up at the heroes. Even if they fall, just help them back right on up. Take care and goodbye.